Let's not waste any time, let's hop right into the deck profile. We're going to start with the newest addition to the deck, the Horus Engine. We have the standard 3 Mseti, the standard 2 King Sarcophagus, and one deviation from the standard in Dwamutef. Typically, people when they play the Horus Engine like to play Happy, because Happy has the ability to recycle any of your answered Horus Engine pieces back. But Dwamutef has a little bit of small synergy with that Chimera Engine, and that's why I prefer playing it. Dwamutef is a beast type monster, which is important to fuse with, as we all know. Chimera Fusion requires you to use a beast or fiend type monster. Additionally, Dwamutef, if it ends up face up on your side of the field, advantage. Let's briefly go over the rest of the Horus Engine. If you're looking for an in-depth analysis of every Horus card, please check out my What You Need to Know Horus video. Shameless plugs out of the way, let's do it. We have the Mseti, which can send itself and another card from your hand to the graveyard to search King Sarcophagus. Additionally, you have the option of drawing a card when you use that effect. King Sarcophagus is the linchpin of the Horus Engine. You will need it face up on your side of the field so you can special summon your Horus monsters from the graveyard. And King Sarcophagus also helps you put those Horus monsters in the graveyard. You can send one card from your hand to the graveyard and send a Horus monster from your deck to the graveyard. King Sarcophagus also gives you a non-target send when your Horus monster battles an opponent's monster, and there's a protection effect too for your Horus monsters. Those two effects rarely come up though, because we're trying to turn our Horus monsters into extra deck material as quickly and as often as possible. Let's quickly go over the standard play loop for our Horus Engine. Step 1. Open Mseti. Mseti, search King Sarcophagus, draw a card. King Sarcophagus, summon back the Mseti, King Sarcophagus, dump to Dwamutef, Dwamutef summon, overlay for Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord to insulate our plays, or one of our rank 8 toolbox monsters to outbreak board. Continue on with your Chimera Fusion plays. Mirror Sword Knight, summon Baphomet, Baphomet add Chimera Fusion, add the Gazelle. Chimera Fusion, use the Baphomet and the Gazelle as fusion material for the special summon of Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts. Baphomet effect to Reborn, Gazelle effect to Search, and Chimera effect to rip one during the end phase. Add Coddle, Reborn the Mirror Sword Knight, Coddle effect, thin out the deck. Add the Chimera Fusion back to hand. Set the Chimera Fusion, wish our opponent good luck. That's it, the Horus Engine is used to clear a path for your Chimera plays. You can establish a negate to protect Mirror Sword Knight or Baphomet, or you can use the Horus monsters and the rank 8 toolbox at your disposal to beat down and clear interaction out of your opponent's board. Let's move on to the other namesake of the deck, Chimera. The ratios we have here are also pretty standard. We have 3 Coddle, 3 Mirror Sword Knight, 3 Gazelle, 2 Baphomet, and 3 Chimera Fusion. Coddle can discard itself to search a monster that mentions Chimera Fusion and can provide conditional targeting protection for your cards. Mirror Sword Knight can tribute itself to summon a monster that mentions Chimera Fusion and can provide a conditional monster negate. Gazelle can search a level 5 fiend, which would be Baphomet, or Chimera Fusion, and can search an illusion monster when it's used as fusion material. Baphomet can search a level 4 beast, which would be Gazelle, and or Chimera Fusion. You can get one, you can get the other, or you can get both. Baphomet can also reborn an illusion monster when it's used as fusion material. Chimera Fusion is a quick play fusion spell that is restricted to the main phase. It must use a beast or fiend as fusion material, and it can add itself back to your hand provided Chimera, the flying mythical beast, is on field or engraved. A common theme with the Chimera Fusion engine is needing the Chimera, the flying mythical beast, to be on field to get a whole bunch of bonus effects. Don't worry, we don't need to play the OG Chimera. A few of our extra deck monsters take that name while they're in play. Let's move on to our non-engine cards. The non-engine in this deck is very flexible. You can load up on fusion support engines, turn neutral staples, Handtraps, or a mix of everything. I went with the little bit of everything approach, but the underlying theme or thought behind all of my choices was to pick cards that are good both during first or second. We have the Patchwork engine, which consists of 3 Fry-for Patchwork, 2 Egypt Chain, and 1 Polymerization. The Patchwork engine is just great generic fusion support. Getting Polymerization in your hand to fuse with is wonderful. Getting the Egypt Chain in your hand is also wonderful. The Fry-for Patchwork engine also generates a lot of free cards in hand. Patchwork can add Poly and Edge Up Chain. Edge Up Chain, if it's sent to the graveyard from your hand or field, can then add a Patchwork. These are great things to discard with King Sarcophagus to get your Horus Engine rolling. Additionally, the polymerization in graveyard is a huge boon for a deck that wants to make Guardian Chimera as often as possible. This is probably the best monster we have in our extra deck, and making it untargetable just makes it a little bit better. Next up, we have the Master Duel staple, Maxi. You gotta play it. Fortunately though, I think the Chimera Engine is good enough playing into Maxi that you don't need to run out specifically for Maxi. Hence why you will see no Ash Blossom in play here. I mean, Snake Eyes also has a bit to do with that. Giving them free Hita plays is never really where you want to be. The only other hand traps we're running are To Nibiru, because we want to give our Maxi a little bit of teeth, and Imperm, because Imperm is good to draw into off the Maxi, but it's also good to have in your hand and save for when you're going second. The last of the non-engine are just generically good things. We have Triple Tactics Talent and Called by the Grave to help us punish our opponent for using hand traps or to beat hand traps. This deck can at times be a little vulnerable to Ash on Mirror Sword Knight, or a Veiler, or Imperm on Big Wing Baphomet, and Called by the Grave and Talents help with everything except for the Imperm. We also have 2 Forbidden Droplet, pretty good to set when you're going first, and pretty good to have in your hand going second. Additionally, we have Super Polymerization, which is just a blowout in and of itself. It's great to set when you're going first to interrupt your opponent in an unrespondable manner, and it's great sometimes to help crack boards. We're playing a wide variety of Super Poly targets in the extra deck to try and make sure that the Super Poly is as live as often as possible. The only thing I'm not really happy about in terms of the non-engine is the amount of cards that I'm playing that require additional cards to come out of your hand or off your field, like Forbidden Droplet, Super Poly. Pair that up with the King Sarcophagus, and it can feel very costly to try and go second sometimes. I'm hoping that the strength behind the card choices that I've made will kind of make up for that, in addition to my engine's ability to generate additional resources and cards in hand. I would like to reiterate at this point that the non-engine is very flexible in this deck. You can customize it to your liking. You can do what the particular format is demanding right now and load up on a bunch of hand traps so you can potentially stop a Snake Eyes player when they're going first. That is something I have toyed around with, and I probably will have to do if I'm attempting to take this deck into the higher ranks. But for right now, I'm just kind of floating around Diamond, and that gives me the flexibility and comfort to play this deck in a way that's more fun to me. I think the win rate with this deck, this particular version of the deck with this non-engine, will still be good enough for me to climb the ranked ladder, and if I'm going to smash my head into the ranked ladder wall time and time again, I'm going to try and have fun while I'm doing it. I encourage all of you to do the same. Let's move on to our extra deck choices really quick and wrap up this deck profile. We have a suite of rank 8 XCs for our Horus Engine to get us access into. We have number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord, number 38 Hope Harbinger, and Dingirsu, the Orchest of the Evening Star. Photon Lord is here to establish a monster negate before we go into our Chimera Engine plays, hopefully insulating Mirror Sword Knight from Ash Blossom, or Big Wing Baphomet from something like an Effect Veiler or a Ghost Mourner Moonlit Chill. Dingirsu is here just as a flexible option to help us go second. We can always use our Horus monsters to beat down some of our opponent's stuff, and then overlay them into a Dingirsu and send an additional card from their field to the graveyard. Next, we have our Chimera Engine Mainstays. We have Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts. This becomes Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast, while in field or in the graveyard. The same goes for Baphomet, the Mythical King of Phantom Beasts, and Chimera, the Illusion Beast. See, I told you we didn't have to play the old DM card. Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, can send a card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard during the end phase of the turn it was fusion summoned. Additionally, if it's in your graveyard during your opponent's turn, you can banish it to special summon a Beast, Fiend, or Illusion type monster from your graveyard. Baphomet can send a Beast, Fiend, or Illusion type monster from your deck to the graveyard if it is fusion summoned. Baphomet is used for much more insidious and sinister purposes in other deck lists, typically to send a myriad of floodgates from your deck to the graveyard that you can then use the Chimera to reborn on your opponent's turn, the most common one being Barrier Statue of the Abyss. But as I mentioned earlier and touched on when I'm talking about the non-engine, I'm playing this deck for fun, and floodgating my opponent doesn't really sound like a whole lot of fun. Again, there is the chance that if I really want to take this deck all the way up the ranked ladder, I may need to resort to such devious acts, but for now we're just going to forego the floodgate setting up and use Baphomet as a way to work additional Chimera Engine pieces into rotation. Next we have Chimera, the Illusion Beast. It can make a number of attacks up to the number of fusion materials used. Additionally, after it crashes into something, it can zero that monster's attack out and negate its effects. It's also worth mentioning that Chimera the Illusion Beast is an illusion type monster and has the typical illusion clause where it cannot be destroyed by battle and also cannot destroy something by battle. So the idea is you use a whole bunch of material to make Chimera the Illusion Beast, crash into one of your opponent's monsters, zero its attack out, negate its effects, and then keep smashing into it until you win the game. Next up we have quite possibly the best monster in the extra deck, Guardian Chimera. This thing is a house. Everybody knows what it does. Non-target pop cards, draw you cards, becomes untargetable polys in the grave. Hats off to whoever at Konami designed the Chimera Fusion Engine to make Guardian Chimera very efficiently. Next we have two honorary Chimera Fusion extra deck monsters, Magnum the Reliever and Protoprant Dragostapelia. Dragostapelia is kind of also a super poly target, depending on the matchup, but it's also something that you can decently get into if you're unable to set up a Guardian Chimera play. Magnum is also a great toolbox option at our disposal, and it gets bonus points for synergy with the Patchwork Engine. Since the Patchwork Engine can put polymerization in graveyard, you can always use Magnum the Reliever to banish that poly and destroy an opponent's card whenever they do literally anything, or you can even bottom deck it on your turn to draw another card. The rest of the extra deck is just super poly targets that I thought would be the most accessible and the most useful. We have Muddragon the Swamp, Garura, Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, Dragostapelia is also kind of a super poly target. And then we have Dragon Knight, Draco Quest for those super duper wombo combo boards that love to end on Barone plus Despotter or Barone plus Warlord Savage. Alright everybody, that's going to be it for the deck profile. Hopefully this was somewhat entertaining, somewhat informational, and has you wanting to see more of this deck. I plan on playing this on stream sometime soon. I usually stream Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I hope to see all of you there. Please remember to check the community page to see if I am going to be streaming. I'm a busy guy. Things come up. All of us adults know what's up. Also, like, comment, subscribe, do all the other nonsensical YouTube stuff. Bye everybody. Be safe, have fun.